Hi, I'm Arnold Fox, here with the Fox. Just kidding, I'm not Arnold Fox. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to True Crime Loser. Hope you're having a good day and the start to a good weekend. I made a video yesterday comparing and contrasting Scott Peterson and Chris Watts, both, in my opinion, malignant narcissists that aborted their families. And one of the categories in that video was their plan and strategy to get away with it. And I think it hit me kind of preparing that video and doing that video that I think one of the reasons that I am so stuck on this Chris Watts case is because it's just mind-baffling how not close Chris was to getting away with this. For a premeditated murder, this might be the worst attempt to get away with it of any case I've ever seen. I've been a true crime fan for almost 20 years at this point. I've read all the books. Back in the day, you used to have to wait like 10 years after a case was all concluded, and then some journalist that covered it the whole time would put a book out. And then you'd have to read it. But we are in a new age, baby, the YouTube age. And so I'm sure, just like you guys, I've watched all of the interrogations and everything. And I think what's so fascinating about the Chris Watts case is, in my opinion, it was definitely premeditated. If you don't think that it was premeditated and you think that it was just kind of a crime of passion where Chris and Shanann got in an argument about money and he freaked out and killed her, and then let me know, because to me it seems premeditated, which makes it even more baffling, because if you're going to premeditate it, you're playing with your life too. So you got to have some plan, attempt to get away with it. And in this video, I'm just going to go through all of the just unbelievably stupid mistakes that Chris made in trying to get away with it. And it's just mind-blowing. But check out the video I did yesterday comparing Chris and Scott Peterson. I think it is relevant to talk about that. Also, too, I wanted to give a quick shout-out to Charity Fenley, one of the first subscribers on this new channel of mine. So thank you, Charity. I went and checked out Charity's. She made a really cool video, a tribute to Shanann and the girls, with nice music behind it, and she picked a lot of clips or a lot of pictures where Shanann's looking hot. So that was cool. So thanks, Charity. I appreciate the subscribe. All right, let's get into this. For today's, I'm going to try to do 20 minutes every day on this channel. And for a while, it's probably going to be just about Chris Watts stuff, because that's what I'm thinking about. All right, so let's get into this. Like I said, I think for sure that this was premeditated. The biggest evidence for that is he called his coworker that Sunday afternoon and said, hey, you're supposed to go out to this location. Let me go out instead, which that location ended up where he dumped the bodies. And so that right there, I think he's in his head. It's like, all right, it's going down tonight. Tonight's the night. Shanann's getting back from Arizona. It's going down tonight, and then I will dispose of the bodies at that site tomorrow. After that, though, it just, to me, it makes no sense. Because Chris knew that his neighbors have a doorbell camera. Because his neighbors, when the people were stealing tools throughout the neighbor told him, said, park your truck right here. So already he knows that, and that's why he pulled his truck into the garage. So already he knows that the neighbors have a doorbell camera. It's like, what the fuck, Chris? I think that he was going to go with the story to the cops is we had this very emotional conversation where I told her that we needed to separate, and we were both crying. He said that over and over again. We were both crying. It was so emotional. And it's like, Chris, if you were crying if you were bawling, like you said, when you were talking about just separating, why haven't you cried at all now that they're gone? All right? I don't know. So the doorbell cam is the first just absolute massive monkey wrench that is thrown into his horrific plan. Because he was going to go with, we had this talk, emotional talk, and then Shanann left me. She left. She didn't think I loved her anymore, so she just left me. I'm the victim. She took the kids and left. All right, that's the narrative that he was trying to go with. And I'm going to go through everything that just makes that story completely unbelievable. One, like I said, the doorbell cam. You can't argue that she left if your neighbor has a fucking camera that captures anyone that comes and leaves. And he knew that. So just right there, you would have had to do something like Scott Peterson where she left and didn't come back. Second, just mind-boggling mistake on his part is his getaway vehicle, the truck that he used to get away, to drive the bodies away, has GPS that pings every 10 seconds. You would think before he did the murders, he's like, all right, how am I going to get the fucking bodies out of here? It's going to have to be my work truck. Oh, wait. There's GPS every 10 seconds. Maybe the cops will look at me because I'm the last person that saw her and I haven't cried and I've just looked like a stoic lizard since they've been gone. They're probably going to investigate me. They're probably going to ask my employer for the records for that GPS. I mean, Chris, what are you doing? So the truck has GPS every 10 seconds. So it's only a matter of time before they see that. They follow that out to his first job location and start poking around. All right, third thing that's just, if you're trying to get away with murder, just mind-boggling, and also he's going for the narrative that she just left him, all of her stuff is left at the house, including her phone, which we all know that Shanann was completely addicted to her phone and was one of those people that went live on Facebook. And my God, were her Facebook vlogs terrible. But as someone that's that attached to her phone, he just jammed the phone in the couch cushions of the couch, which was found not even by police, but by Nicole's son. And then even more suspicious that her phone's there is she didn't take her purse and her money. You need money to leave. And it's real easy to look at their bank accounts and say, well, she didn't pull out any money, Chris. And she didn't take any credit cards, Chris. So, what the fuck? And then Chris is just sitting there going, yeah, the house is just so empty. Honestly, like, I just hope that they come back. Like, honestly, I do. And it's just like the cop, you could, like, he didn't even make it a number of hours before the cops are like, all right, this dude is suspicious. The third thing is the sheets that were on the bed were in the home trash can. And unless you have a night with the flu where it's coming out of both ends, how often does normal people throw bed sheets away? I mean, have you ever thrown a set of sheets away that haven't just had a disaster flu night? Or like where your kids wet the, There's no reason to just jam sheets into the trash can and just leave them there. If you're going to go out and discard things in a shallow grave, Chris, might as well throw the sheets in there with it. Might as well throw her cell phone. I know it's a horrific thing to think about. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad he made all the mistakes. It was just quick and easy, and now he's in jail rotting for the rest of his life. I'm just, talking about it. All right, so the sheets, which also he just like threw the sheet next to the shallow grave, which blew away. So they found that sheet, which matched the sheets in the trash. He's just an idiot. Third thing that just really threw a wrench in his whole narrative that she just left him is he called the daycare and goes, or told them to like take him off the, put him on the waiting list, or he immediately called the daycare and were like, the kids aren't coming back. And the female FBI agent, I think, has small kids, so she knew that most daycares bill on Monday. And so Chris, you gotta let the daycare, if you're trying to get away with murdering your family, you gotta let the daycare just charge your card. Because calling them that day and being like, oh yeah, they're gone. I mean, they're not gone. They're just not gonna come to school anymore. Sorry. Is just so suspicious as hell. And there's that great moment in the interrogation where the FBI agent goes, tell me about the call that you made to the daycare. And Chris goes, oh, I called and said that that to put him on the waiting list. And the FBI agent's like, that's not what you said. And then Chris is like, oh, what I said is that honestly, like, I wish that they were back, but, and he just like rambled on. And the FBI agent goes, none of what you've said tonight makes any sense. And he's just sitting there like, and it's, oh God, it's like, I don't know. All right. And then the third just epic fail that Chris did is, if you're as screwed as you are with everything that I just talked about, why would you talk to police? I mean, I think he thought that if he didn't talk to police, he was going to look suspicious. But it's like, yeah, Chris, you already do. You already look ridiculous. You should just close your mouth and lawyer up. It just makes zero sense. And then the last thing is, why, if you're already as fucked as you are with everything that I've already talked about, don't take the polygraph. Why would you take the polygraph? Do what Scott Peterson did and agree to take the polygraph, and then the next day just say, oh, actually, like, they're not municipal in court. I feel horrible. I got to look for I'm not going to sit there and take this while my family's missing. Come up with something, Chris. He just came in and was like, yeah, I'll take it. And that was the first polygraph. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a polygraph before play out. That's the first polygraph I've ever seen, and my God, is there any worse experience to go through than doing a 6-hour polygraph like that, knowing you're guilty? And that lady was brutal. My favorite part is when they're like leading up to the polygraph, they're doing the pre-meeting, and she's like, okay, like, we need to go over how, when I ask you, like, did you cause the disappearance, or do you know anything about the disappearance? We need to go over how a person could cause a disappearance. And then she just leaves it open for Chris. And he's like, oh, you could, he starts naming him. He's like, you could poison somebody, or you could, and he's going through, and you could tell he doesn't want to say you could strangle someone or smother someone. So he's like, yeah, you can hit someone with a blunt object, you can, and then he's starting to kind of run out, and she goes, and you could strangle someone, and he goes, yeah, you could strangle someone, and she goes, you could smother someone, and he's going, yeah, you could smother someone. And then she's going, they're leading up to and she's like, oh, you're such a bad liar. I love, too, how just over and over again they ask him, what would you do with the person? They make him answer that question. What would you do with the person that caused their disappearance? And I think during during answering some of those questions, you realize that their whole strategy to just break him down, they knew he did it. Their whole strategy was just to make him answer enough questions that just made him look like a fucking idiot. He's like, oh, do they even do the death penalty in Colorado? And then he has that line where he's like, if someone hurt these kids, there's nothing that can be done to make me cope with that. Right there, the FBI agent's like, all right, well, I'm just going to make this guy sit in this horrific room and answer questions until he just has nothing left and confesses. I talked about this in my last video. I think sociopaths or malignant narcissists or whatever you want to call people like this, they're really used to lying. And they, in their head, are very confident in their ability to lie out of a situation. But you can only act innocent for like a few minutes. You can act innocent in a short conversation. You can pretend you're innocent, in an interview. But to sit down and pretend you're innocent for 6 hours in an interrogation room, it's just not going to happen. You're not a good enough actor. People that are innocent react to questions much differently than someone that are guilty, just naturally. Like, if you're asked, from watching all the interrogations, if you're asked, if you murdered your kids, most innocent people are like, what the fuck? You're asking me if I murdered my kids? Of course I didn't murder my kids. That's insane. Like, you're going to ask me that? And then people that are guilty, they're like, did you murder your kids? And they're like, no, I didn't. And they think cool. They think if they just act cool, they look innocent. But really, that doesn't look innocent. It just looks stupid. And I don't know about you guys, but I thoroughly enjoyed them just wringing Chris out like an old dirty rag in that interrogation room. Those FBI agents played him like a fiddle. And I think that's why they released all the footage as quick as they did. I remember thinking that I'm going to have to wait years to check out all of the interrogation footage, and then boom, it was just already up. And I think they were proud of themselves, and they should be. I said this in another video, you got to give credit to the Colorado justice system because they smoked it with this one. They closed the show in 3 months. They got this guy to confess everything. It really is a masterpiece from start to finish as far as justice is concerned. The family got what they wanted. They didn't want him to get killed or the death penalty, and now everybody can move on. It is a little mind-blowing that he just confessed a mere hours after they brought him in. Because if you're already that fucked, you're going to get the death penalty or life in jail no matter what. So you would think that might as well just not confess, just keep your mouth shut, get a lawyer, and see how the trial plays out. Because you never know. Look at the Casey Anthony trial. I followed that trial. I didn't have a job at the time during that trial, and I followed that trial as close as I would wake up and turn on the internet. They showed the unedited full trial on the internet, and I would watch it every day. And Casey Anthony before trial, it even looked worse for her than it did for Chris Watts. She had that where she said she worked at Universal Studios, and they're like, all right, let's go there. And they went to Universal, and they're walking to her office, and she just all of a sudden, they get to the end of the hall, and she goes, oh, actually, I don't work for Universal Studios. And they're like, what? What do you mean you don't? And then the nanny that her whole story was that Zanny, the nanny, took her, and they figured out that she didn't exist. Epic level of like on the same level of Chris Watts of just zero plan to get away with this murder, and she got away with it. So I think all of that credit once it's trial, and especially if you have a good sleazy lawyer, it's all up in the air. It doesn't matter how screwed that it appears that the murderer is. And so I'm from Colorado. I give so much credit to the Colorado Justice Department for just closing the show and not even giving Chris any wiggle room. I mean, they just shook him down and wrung him out. And you could tell in that last, there's that when they're taking the final pictures after he confessed, they come in and they make him, take pictures of his hand. The look on his face is just like, well, I underestimated these guys, and now my life is over. And it was, satisfying to see that dead look in his eyes of just like, yeah, Chris, that's why you don't murder your family, you dumbass. All right. Well, this video is a little all over the place, but that's all right. I'm going to try to do 20 minutes, 20 minutes every day. Like I said, it's probably going to be on the Chris Watts case for a while, just because I'm fascinated by it. And I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on everything that I just rambled about. Please comment. I'm going to try to read and comment back to all the comments. Please subscribe. Like I said, new 20-minute video most every day. Once I'm done being fascinated with this Chris Watts case, I'm going to probably go through and do an analysis on all of the famous interrogations that are on YouTube, like Colonel Russell Williams and, all of them. Just all of the great YouTube interrogations that we're all obsessed with. But for now, it's just going to be Chris Watts because that's what I'm thinking about. But anyway, I hope you're having a good start to your weekend. Please subscribe and like and do all that. I might give you a shout out. And thanks for watching True Crime Loser. See you next time.